Good afternoon and welcome to our latest video, requesting recommendations for your LSMSA application. Today I'm going to walk you through the 3 steps of going through the recommendation request, and you can see here that they're going to be to identify a good teacher to write your recommendations. Step 2 is to approach them, and step 3 is to actually send them the form. So when we get to step 3, I'm actually going to take you to the application portal, and we're going to learn a little bit more about that inside of there. So when you're coming to identifying your recommenders, what you want to know is, first of all, who do you have to get recommendations from? Who can you get some extra ones from? And just kind of deciding what's a good way to ask someone. So for the required recommendations, the top 2, English and math, must be from people who have actually taught you those subjects. And what we allow is for those recommenders to be either from your current school year, so people who are teaching you right now, or if you're on block schedule, who taught you last semester, or people who taught you last year. So we understand, again, for block schedule students, you might not have an English teacher until the spring, or you just might not feel like you know your current teacher well enough as you know the teacher who had you last year for an entire school year. So as far as those 2 recommendations are concerned, you can get one from the current school year or the year before. As for the last recommendation there, one coming from a school administrator or guidance counselor, that has to be from somebody at your current school, because what we need for that one is someone with up-to-date information about any unexcused absence problems, any disciplinary problems, somebody who has access to sort of your student record at your current school. So these 3 are required. For homeschool students, we're going to do things a little bit differently, and we'll get to that in the 3rd bullet point here. But these recommendations are ones that you must receive in order to apply to the Louisiana school. As for the optional recommendations, these, as their name suggests, are not required, but if you want to get someone extra, if you know somebody else who'd like to write a recommendation, you can get these from anyone. I do recommend getting someone who knows the student in some form of a professional capacity. So either, another teacher, current or former, if you have maybe had a tutor, if you had somebody who's worked with you outside of school, but somebody who maybe knows the student and knows what they're capable of. If you want to get those extra recommendations, you can. Again, those aren't required, but if you want to kind of help round out your application and show that there are a lot of people who are excited for you to have this opportunity, that's a great way to do it. As for our students who are homeschooled, what we're going to ask for there is that the administration rec come from a parent. So the parent's going to fill it out because you're going to know the program that your student's doing, what you're pulling from. So you're going to fill out the administrator/guidance counselor recommendation. If you have people who help your student, if you have a math tutor, if you have an English tutor so they can fill out those exact same forms, great, send those to them. I know some people do sort of co-op schooling, and so they're technically being homeschooled, but somebody from a different family teaches your student in one of those subjects. That's great. You can get them to write those recommendations. If you don't have that kind of situation, then in that case, we're going to require the optional recommendations. And so in that scenario, what you'll do is get people who, again, work with the student in sort of an academic or extracurricular role, tutors, coaches, Sunday school teachers, just anybody who knows the student in more of a professional capacity outside of just a neighbor or a cousin, someone who knows what the student is like inside of a classroom. Whenever it comes time to get your recommendation, it's not strictly necessary, but we really encourage everyone to approach their teachers before sending the recommendation. And there's a few different reasons for that. So first, it's just polite. You don't necessarily want something to just show up in their inbox and now this is another thing that they have to get done. So it's going to be polite of you to go up to your teacher and just let them know, hey, I'm applying to the Louisiana school and I would love it if you would write a recommendation. The other reason that this is a good idea is because it's also going to give you a chance to gauge their willingness about writing you a recommendation or their feelings about the school. Not everybody likes the idea of students leaving the home so early, and so not everyone is comfortable writing a recommendation for a student to leave their house at 15, 16 years old. And so if you approach an English teacher and ask them if they'll do it, and then they say, I'm not really comfortable with you leaving home that early, then you'll know that in advance and you can have a backup plan. So always a good idea to do that. As far as when you should ask, remember that teachers have really busy schedules. Just as a former teacher myself, there's a lot of different things that go into it. Their planning periods they have to use to get a lot of things done. So remember to be kind of mindful of that whenever you're going up to speak with them, and just ask, hey, is there a time where I can come talk to you? If there's a good time, that would be best. And let them know that you're kind of keeping their schedule in your thoughts, and that you don't want to be rude and just kind of assume that you can go and talk to them. So that's a good suggestion as well. And then just a few notes. Remember to be brief. Thank them for their time. They've got a lot going on, and so you don't want to take up any more time than you need to. And just remember that not all teachers are comfortable writing these recommendations, but they're still going to be your teacher. So you don't want to be rude. You don't want to be upset if they're not willing to do it. It's completely within their choice. So just be polite, thank them for their time anyway, and then have a backup plan ready. Get a teacher from last year, have extra optional recommendations done, and then you can kind of go from there. And then finally, how do we send recommendations? So for this, we're actually going to take a look at the application portal. So let's jump over to that screen. Okay, so if you watched our previous video, you'll be familiar with our application screen now. So you can see this is my quote-unquote son, Ace Eagle, who started an application. You can see he submitted a lot of his documents. So far, the school has only processed his ACT score, which is why you see a blue check mark there. But what we want to focus on are the recommendations. And so again, you can see the 3 required recommendations are listed first, and then beneath that are the 2 optional recommendations. So what I'm going to do now is click on the English teacher recommendation link. See, just verify it's requesting a recommendation from a current or recent English teacher. Now this is someone I've already spoken with, so I'm going to go ahead and put their name in here, and for purposes of this video, I'm just going to put my own name and my own email address. And this way I can actually complete the recommendation form as well, and you'll get a chance to see what that looks like. And again, you've already spoken to this teacher if you followed step 2, but I'm still going to thank them again. Again, please complete this letter of recommendation. I really appreciate it. Just let them know that you're aware that you're asking them to do more work outside of their normal schedule, and you're really thankful that they're willing to do it for you. So I can click preview request. You can see whatever message you include is going to be at the top of the screen. I like the way that looks. Everything else in there looks correct. So I'm going to go ahead and send it. And now I'm going to take you over to my email account to see the email that the teacher will receive, so you can see what that side of this process looks like. So here's the email that the teacher received. You can see it's got everything that I have, the note from me at the beginning. They can either choose to complete the recommendation or decline it. Obviously you've spoken to your teacher already, so they're going to accept the request for the recommendation. They're going to verify your name, their name, and that they're not a robot. So we'll click through the 3 pictures with bicycles. I'm still not a robot. And so once they verified that, they can start the recommendation. So the reason I want you to see this is to see the form itself. You can see it's pretty simple. All they have to do is go through and fill out these fields. So the applicant's first and last name. Again, that was Ace Eagle, and I currently teach them in 9th grade. So then my information, I'm going to go ahead and put in, I'm Michael Sumner. And then whenever it asks me for my email address, I'm going to go ahead and put that in just as the same as it was received. And then I'm not going to go through all of this and fill it out. I just want you to be able to see all of the questions. So it wants to know recommender's phone number. That's an optional field. The job title, the school that they work at, where the school is located, and the date. Some of the general information, like how long have you known the applicant? Do you currently teach them? Sort of some basic questions to get to know you. And then what are the first 3 words that come to mind? And then we have this really easy matrix for them to complete. So we're going to ask them about a few different character traits, academic potential, achievement. You can see that there on the left. And all they have to do is click the field. So we've made it as easy as possible for the teachers to make it as quick so they don't have to spend a lot of time on it. And then just at the end, what are the applicant's strengths, weaknesses, is there anything else that we should know, and how highly do you recommend the applicant? So option 1 is I highly recommend, option 2 is I recommend, option 3 is I recommend with reservations, and then the final option is that they do not recommend. So they'll complete that, and then they'll scroll down to the bottom and click submit, and now I'll take you back to the application portal to see what it looks like from there. Alright, so we're back onto our application portal, and now you can see that my English teacher recommendation has been marked as completed, and I've even gone into the system and accepted it. You can see the blue check mark there saying that it has been received by our admission staff. So from there, I'm going to go ahead and start my math recommendation. So I'll go up and start that math recommendation, and I'm going to send this to another coworker of mine. This one's going to go to Miss Jenny Stevens. So she also works here in enrollment. So I'm going to put in her name, her email, and again, just a little note thanking her because I will have talked to her about this beforehand, and I'm going to send the request. So from here, what can happen is maybe I sent the email wrong. I can go click on it and I can see exactly who I sent that email to. Or I might decide I want to change who I sent it to. So I can either send it, I can just resend the request, period. I can resend it to Ms. Stevens using a different email, or I can resend the request to a different person. So that's what I want to do. Ms. Stevens isn't getting my emails, or she's not doing it. So now let's change it up, and I'm going to send it to Byron Cole. So Mr. Cole's another person who works here in admissions. I'm going to send it to him instead. Again, I'm going to thank him for helping me out by completing this recommendation. And now it's sent to Byron Cole. So that'll complete our recommendation request video. Again, just follow these 3 steps. Identify who's going to be a good person to write your recommendation. Approach them outside of the email and just let them know that you'd like for them to do your recommendation and that you're going to send them an email. And then step 3 is use the system to send them that request. If you have any issues with any of these steps, or if you need any help, please feel free to reach us. I'll put my contact information on the screen here now. And we look forward to hearing from you and reading your recommendations. Thank you.